Oh, I think we're in the beginning stages of the creator economy. I think, look, number one, the bet I'm making with my own business is that the creator economy is here to stay and it's going to really reap rewards. I think I choose TikTok, Instagram, a little bit Threads, and a little bit LinkedIn, but really the two main ones are TikTok and Instagram for me right now. Um, I think that that's I think that number one, video is here to stay. People like video. Number two, Gen Z, younger consumers who are becoming more and more important in the business world and who are making more and more decisions on a business level every day. And as consumers, by the way, they're active on those platforms. And I think, look, at different platforms resonate well for different people.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Promethean Leaders. And today we are excited to have Eddie, also known as Eddie the Media Trainer. Eddie is an expert in creating impactful media presence for organizations, brands, and individuals. With over a decade of experience across various sectors, Eddie has helped leaders develop effective relationships with journalists, identify the right message, and prepare for their media presence. Currently, Eddie is the founder of Eddie the Media Trainer, offering coaching around engaging with the news media and avoiding pitfall of going viral for wrong reasons. All right, Eddie, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited to learn from you about all the media training we can get. All right,
I love
so
it.
Eddie, I'm just going to start with the very basic question of knowing about your journey because it's always interesting to know how people actually get started in their field and what made them start. So, can you tell us about your journey and what inspired you to become Eddie the Media Trainer?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been fascinated by the media. To me, that's just such an interesting industry. I'm so interested in how journalism works, how they get stories, what kind of stories they accept, what kind of stories they don't accept, how journalism makes money, how it loses money in a lot of cases. But that industry fascinates me and how it's evolving over time. And I remember having this conversation with a friend 15 years ago, and we were talking, we were working, we were taking a break. This was during university. And, we were just talking about the media, and he said, Eddie, you seem to know a lot about media. Have you ever thought about being a journalist? And I thought about it and I go, well, no, I've never thought about being a journalist. I think journalists have a very, very important role in our society. Um, but I didn't want to be one. I wanted to be in business. And so I thought, to me, the intersection of journalism and business is a fascinating, fascinating place, and one where I'm really excited to spend my career. And to me, that's PR and media training and all that kind of stuff. So my career started, like a lot of people's, as an unpaid intern. I worked in public affairs, actually for the United States government here in Canada. But that was kind of my first time in that industry, in that space, and I just really, really loved it. And from there, I worked at a PR agency for 4.5 years. I started at the bottom and I kind of climbed my way up to be director of communications. I had a bunch of different clients, technology, real estate, financial services, events, nonprofit, you name it. I took on a bunch of different clients, both on the PR and communication side, and a little bit also on media buying and advertising side of things. And from there, I got recruited to be CMO of an e-commerce company. I helped scale them up. And about a year ago, I started my own business, and I thought, okay, what is it, the thing that I love, and what is it that I want to do? And to me, it was going back to my PR and media roots. And while I love all the marketing stuff, and I was the CMO of this e-commerce company, I wanted to go back to the thing that I know really, really well, inside and out, the thing that I can create content around. And if you wake me up at 3 in the morning and splash a bucket of water on my face and ask me something about media and PR and journalism, I can talk to you about it for hours. And I thought, okay, that seems like a pretty good place to be talking on TikTok and on Instagram. And that's how I became Eddie the Media Trainer.
Eddie, your journey is like very inspiring, starting from the bottom, climbing up to becoming communication director, then CMO, and achieving those big C-suite titles as well. What I'm interested in learning is on your way up to CMO, how did you see the media field evolve, and how did you keep just keep up with it?
That's a great question. I mean, when we worked at the agency, that's our whole job is, keeping up with the media, with journalists. How is it evolving? Where's it going? And how can we better serve our clients to make sure that they're positioned to take advantage of these evolutions and these changes really, really effectively? Look, it's no secret that journalism for the last 20 years has been undergoing a massive shift, right? We used to have newspapers and radio stations and TV news, and there was so much resources that journalists had, and that's not the case anymore. And yes, there's some that are still around, big media, small media, it exists, but now we're seeing much more of a pivot to number one, which has started probably in about 2003, 4, 5, is kind of the arrival of blogs and the digital media space. Then the maturation of that, right, with like online only publications like a BuzzFeed or a HuffPost or something like that. And then I would say that over the last 10 or so years, we've seen the evolution of social media as really like the forefront of media, right? Everybody now is a journalist. Everybody is a citizen journalist. They can capture it and you can go viral for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons in a matter of moments. You don't have to go to journalism school to make an impact on the media landscape. So that to me is a really important thing. And that's one of the things that I advise my clients on is figuring out, okay, given that we know where the landscape of media has gone, and let's call it, we're in the creator economy era. What's your strategy around that? What are you doing? How are you taking advantage of that? So that is a big thing that I'm always pushing my clients on is how are you going to build your own audience? How are you taking advantage of or how are you optimizing, I should say, for the creator economy era in which we currently stand?
Eddie, you mentioned something very interesting. How the field evolved and you saw it firsthand from going from the television and radio to digital media, online blogs and everything. One other thing that okay, even like you might feel like, oh, I didn't know about the radio and stuff, but like I'm originally from Pakistan, and like at that time when I was growing up, uh, and it was radio. We were still listening to radio and television and all that, and internet came into my life very late, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. And one other thing that I have noticed very interestingly that happening still after coming to Canada is that it's not a one-way stream anymore. It's a very personalized and targeted content for each individual. It's not even for like each group anymore. It's more like each individual. And how things are evolving, I feel like just with the help of the AI, the content itself is becoming so smart that you are not just targeting one group of people or like one community. You are basically targeting each individual on their interest level and how they engage with your content. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that with the arrival of AI, that's probably more. It's going to be even more of an opportunity and a shift. I think right now, like let's think about, when I create a piece of content, right? I have a sense, like a gut feeling of what my audience likes and doesn't like. But I don't know what that looks like at scale. I don't know what each individual person likes and doesn't like. I know what the group, based on the content that I've created so far, I know, okay, this one is probably going to do well, and this one is probably going to do poorly. And by the way, I'm wrong half of the time, but at least I have like an instinct about it. I think that AI has the potential to completely change that. So it's very interesting to see where all of these changes are going to net out. Every day AI created content is looking more and more realistic, like real life. And so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to create a really, really interesting opportunity for a lot of really smart and fast moving and creative entrepreneurs. And listen, I hope to take advantage of that.
I really have a lot of questions for you about leadership and media and messaging, but like I also want to know what this is something that my personal curiosity, I would say. Right now, when I think about it and when I started podcasting and my own basically content creation, you can say, right? I felt like, oh, I'm too late in the game. I should have started maybe 5 years ago to be in the right spot. But now just listening to you, I feel like it's always going to be like this. Every time you feel like, oh, you should have started 5 years ago. But technology is evolving so fast. If you keep up and educate yourself, then you will get ahead of the curve by just getting involved in the new technology. For example, when TikTok came out, a lot of people probably brushed it off as like, oh, Gen Z stuff and all that. But that created a huge billions and billions of dollars of business and sales for many, many brands who got into the business, into TikTok very early age. So, what do you think?
Oh, I think we're in the beginning stages of the creator economy. I think, look, number one, the bet I'm making with my own business is that the creator economy is here to stay and it's going to really reap rewards. I think I choose TikTok, Instagram, a little bit Threads, and a little bit LinkedIn, but really the two main ones are TikTok and Instagram for me right now. Um, I think that that's I think that number one, video is here to stay. People like video. Number two, Gen Z, younger consumers who are becoming more and more important in the business world and who are making more and more decisions on a business level every day. And as consumers, by the way, they're active on those platforms. And I think, look, at different platforms resonate well for different people. I'm somebody who's comfortable in front of the camera. I'm comfortable talking on air. I'm comfortable, filming myself, scripting it, editing it, posting it, reposting it, all that stuff. I don't mind playing that game. I know plenty of people, my clients included, who they have no desire to do that. Maybe they want to go be written. Maybe they want to be on Twitter or X. Maybe they want to be on LinkedIn, whatever. I say pick the platform that works for you and lean into it 100%. And so I don't think we are, I still think we are in the early stages of the creator economy. I don't think the creator economy is going to go anywhere else. And I think, if I had unlimited time in the world, I'd be posting 5 TikTok videos every day because I'm such a believer in it. Now, we all have limitations, so I'm not. But I do think that if you, over time, if you create content and you build an audience, that is maybe the most important skill in entrepreneurship today. Certainly one of building an audience so that you can then sell them something. That is something that a legacy entrepreneurs aren't really great at. Some of them are for sure, but a lot of the ones that I talk to, they're not great at that. And so if you can do that, especially as a young person who is natively comfortable with these platforms, I think that that's huge.
Yeah, I definitely think like we are going into a social economy per se, where your social presence matter a lot. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, like it would be at this point very weird if you are, let's say, even trying to hire an employee and you search them up and nothing comes up. Like that would be a very weird instance, for example. So I definitely think we are in a social economy, creator economy as well. With the help of AI, people are actually building more AI avatar and creating more and more content. There still is a content created by a human in the background who is actually leveraging AI. So is going to explode even further. I agree with you. So now let's talk a little bit about how a person can actually do this and get into the creators economy. So what kind of elements that leaders need to focus on when developing their brand presence?
So look, I mean, I think the answer on the creator economy is the same answer to any question around entrepreneurship is just start, just do it. Your first little bit, whatever it looks like, you're not going to be proud of it. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be bad, but do it. Do it, get started, get moving, and iterate. Get 1% better each day. This is kind of general business advice. It's not specific to me. Just get 1% better each day. When I started creating content about a year and a half ago, maybe just over a year ago. And, my first few videos were terrible and nobody saw them. And slowly they got a little bit better. They got a little bit better. And now a few more people are seeing them. And so my advice is on the creator economy side, just get started. That is absolutely the thing to do. And recognize that it's not going to be perfect, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good. So I don't know if that answers the question that you were asking.
See, I understand that part of just getting started, but like, and a lot of people are going to be hesitant to start just on their own, and because like, oh, what should I create? What kind of content should I be making? Is this gonna work? I'm seeing this kind of content explore. Should I get into that bandwagon? And all those kind of questions do pop up. But what I'm trying to get at is how someone should find their own voice in such a crowded and amplified space. Like all the voices are so much amplified in social media right now that finding your own voice and what you are good at and what kind of unique content per se or similar content you can develop that people will like, and that will keep you motivated and going. Because honestly speaking, when you're starting, and let's say you're like creating any kind of content, for first few months nothing will happen, and you have to be okay with that part. And that's the most depressing part, because first is the social high, I would say, is like when few people start clicking and liking your content, and then suddenly no one is liking, then you go into some kind of a spiral, because then you feel like you have done something wrong, you feel like you start overthinking. So I want to know from you, the expert, on how to find your voice.
Yeah, I would say find something that you're comfortable talking about that you can talk about over and over and over again for an extended period of time, right? I made probably 200 videos about media training in a row every single day. One video every day, no matter what. Sundays, holidays, my birthday, I made a video. Find whatever the equivalent of that is for you about a topic that makes sense. And to me, the example is if you are a musician and you are a violinist and that's what you're good at and that's what you know, and all of a sudden you hear somewhere that rock and roll is interesting and violin isn't interesting to audiences, you're not going to stop playing the violin just because right now audiences are interested in this particular fad and not yours, right? The beauty of the social media ecosystem in which we live is if your content is good enough and interesting enough, it will find an audience. It's not going to be the biggest, but it'll find the people who care. Become, if you're a violin guy on TikTok, just as an example, be the best violin guy on TikTok, and people who are interested in that will find you. And think about this. We all sit on our phones all day long, right? Think about how many hundreds and thousands of videos we all view and posts we all view, right? And some of them are in a particular niche. Some of them are B2B, some of them are B2C, some of them are about business, some are about art, some are about funny, some are about teaching, whatever. There's so much opportunity, and we all get served that kind of content. So pick what's interesting to you and pick the thing that you can create content about consistently over and over again, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like billions of people are on the social media platform. Let's just say TikTok, for example. And when you are starting, you might feel like, oh, I like this kind of content, and I don't know who's actually going to be interested in watching that. For that, I think like you are in one of the billion people who are on that platform. Then there's really, just by the law of probability, huge amount of chance that there will be like huge group of people just
Yes.
watching the same content as you and want to create the same content as you. So if you start creating that content that you are actually watching and interested in, and you are also have some level of expertise in it that you can actually share with the audience, people will watch. It will catch on fire at some point. But the consistency, what I'm hearing from you is the consistency of it. You kept posting for 200 days continuously without worrying about, oh, if it's my birthday, I should take a break or something. No, you have to post it. You have to get serious about, like, if you really want to get into the creator economy, first few months not going to be easy, but you have to be consistent.
Yeah, you have to be consistent and you have to make it a priority and you have to commit to making it a little bit better each day. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, I go to the gym. We're going to have different bodies. What you want in the gym and what I want in the gym maybe are completely two different things. And we genetically have different abilities and and we can lift different things and whatever. But at the end of the day, you're making yourself healthier in the way that you want to be. I'm making myself healthier in the way that I want to be. And it's a consistency game. And yeah, the first few times you're not going to be very good. And after a week or after a month, you're not going to see any results. But after a year, chances are you'll see some results if you make it 1% better each day. In 2 years, I'm pretty sure you're going to see some results. And in 5 years, I'm almost certain you're going to see results if you just make it a little bit better each day.
And that's sticking to at least a 1 year. That's already a challenge, I would say. Like
Definitely.
most people, in my opinion, I haven't crossed that curve yet either in terms of creating content, in my opinion. It's like you have to keep on doing it at least for 6-7 months before you start saying like, oh, I want to give up or something. See how that goes, how it makes you feel. if you're feeling good or confident about it.
Yeah, and look at the content that don't make it difficult for yourself. Again, if you want to be on camera, be on camera. If you don't, then don't. Find the medium and the platform that works for you. A lot of B2B people it's LinkedIn, right? They're very comfortable writing their thoughts out. Some people want to be on Twitter and interacting in that ecosystem. I like video. I think it works for me. But everybody's different. And start playing around, start experimenting. The worst thing you can do is sit on your hands and do nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's make this one thing very clear. We talked about creators economy. We talked about how it's going in the even more expansion. But as founders and CEOs of startups, let's say, they mostly focus on creating content and brand for the companies, but not themselves as per se. They want to focus more on the marketing side of producing the content for the product they want to sell. So what kind of the advice do you have for them? Like, I think, in my opinion, you have to have your brand and you have to have company brand. Let's not mingle two.
So look, I think it's a combination of things. First of all, it depends on what you're building, what the product is, right? But I do think that people, especially in the B2B world, people buy from people, not from brands. They buy from people they trust, right? So, especially at this like kind of, small to medium sized business that a lot of creators are going to start with, a lot of founders are going to start with. The best thing that you can do for your business is start building your own profile. Now, separately, you should be marketing your business, right? And building the brand of your business and building the profile and publicity of your business. But I think they're both equally valuable goals. Maybe, again, it depends on what space you're operating in. But maybe you're a B2C company, right? You need to build your company's brand on whatever platforms make sense for that. And then you need to build your personal brand on whatever platforms make sense for that. And by the way, if one day you want to go to a bank and get a loan, or you want to go to a VC and get an investment, or you want to, negotiate, you want to attract the right people to join your company, you want to hire and recruit them, having a personal brand as a founder, it helps all of that stuff. And so I think that I understand the instinct to say, hey, this isn't about me. It's about the company that I'm building. I want to invest in that. I get that. But by focusing a little bit, at least, on your own brand, you are investing in your company's brand too.
No, I totally agree with you. You said people buy from people, not from the brand. And in the creator economy, we have seen a lot of creators who became entrepreneur basically created their own brand after they created their personal brand, and then they created their own brands and companies, and then they were able to sell a lot more because people trusted them already. They build the trust first. So if you are planning, if you're planning to build a company and you have a product in mind, I would say start creating content that you have a bit of expertise in, and similar to what you're trying to do, because like I assume that they're probably going to launch a company that you kind of feel like you have a passion for. Then talk about that passion, create some kind of following, some kind of content, give to the community, and then tell them about your product that you are building and ask for support. Because genuinely, if you're a genuine person, if you are authentic, people do support that kind of behavior.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's the Mr. Beast model of entrepreneurship. Build an audience and you can sell them anything. And that's it. And if it works for those guys, Mr. Beast, Kim Kardashian, Selena Gomez, any celebrity-based company now, they do super, super well. They build the audience first, which, by the way, it doesn't just happen like that. Building an audience is tough, right? Invest in that, and it takes years. Invest in that, put in the effort, and then you slide whatever product idea you have in front of them, and now you have distribution built in. Now you have a built-in marketing channel, and you have followers that want to support you, that want to buy from you. It's just, to me, in 2024, that's the only way to build a company as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that. And I think it's like, it's not just celebrity, it's like any person. Even like I have seen videos of people just cleaning hedges and lawns and stuff, and then they are able to sell the their services. They are not like saying like on the video you'll never hear them say, oh, this is my company and this is what I do. They are literally just go and just clean up
Hmm.
lawns and hedges and show them like how good it is and how good they are able to do it, the services it shows. And then basically people contact them to ask them to do the same for them, basically. So I have seen that happen. And like, for example, I don't remember the person's name, but there was this dentist who kept talking about hygiene and stuff on the social media and how to take care of this and that. And kids felt connected, and they would request, kids would request their mom to go to that dentist particularly because they felt really happy looking at those videos.
100%. Yeah. You become associated with Jay Klaus, who is a influencer entrepreneur, I guess, who talks about the creator economy. He's got a company or a brand called Creator Science. I highly recommend everybody check him out. I'm a fan. Um, he talks about you want to become associated with one word or one term or one thing, right? For me, it's media training, obviously. For other people, it's something else. And so, yeah, if you can become associated with one idea, then you own that, and then you can sell anything you want. And whether it's a service, in the hedges example you talked about, you're right. He's selling services. Hey, I'll come over. I'll clean your lawn care, whatever. Tomorrow, if he launched a direct-to-consumer brand of, I don't know, spray for grass or whatever. I don't know what I live in an
Hmm.
apartment, so I don't know what the product would be. But if you launch some sort of a thing that you would use to treat your lawn, fertilizer, whatever, it's got immediate distribution built into his channel. Perfect. He's got millions of people who are going to be prepared to buy that product for him. That's a really hard place to be. A lot of startups spend a lot of time figuring out if they have product market fit. He puts it in front of them, he's got it instantly.
But yeah, and like the feedback is real from the community. Like you are developing
Hmm.
the product, you put it out there. People who trust you, they will use it, they'll buy it, and they'll give you feedback to improve on. That way, you're
100%.
getting real time feedback and you're improving your product and then selling it back to the people.
Absolutely. It's the modern entrepreneurial playbook.
Oh, for sure. So, what kind of like platform people should be on at this point? There's so many social media platforms. Should someone be like interacting with all the platform, or it should be like targeted, specific to, let's say, your audience?
I think it's a combination of, yeah, number one, figure out where is your audience spending their time. Absolutely. Number two, figure out where the audience that you want to be talking to is spending your time, right? There's the people who already follow you and there's people who you want to market to. So that's another point. Figure out what you're comfortable with. Like I said, maybe you're a video guy, maybe you're a written guy, maybe you're an image guy or girl. Figure out which one makes the most sense for you and lean into that. And then after that, I would say get on as many platforms as you can reasonably do, right? So I understand the more platforms you're on, the more time you have to spend doing it, and so it's not so simple. Um, I'm on a bunch, but I'm most consistent on two, right? And so figure out what works for you. Trial and error. The most important thing is consistency. If you feel more comfortable on Twitter or Threads than you do on Instagram, cool, go for it. If you feel more comfortable on TikTok than you do on YouTube, cool, go for it. I'll give you an example. Like I don't have a podcast because I don't have the bandwidth to create a podcast at this point. But I
Mhm.
do have the bandwidth to make a video every single day and put it out on TikTok. It's great. So figure out what works for you and say yes to certain things and no to certain other things.
So, on the topic of audience, how can someone actually figure out who their target audience are? I think that's a very common question in any entrepreneurship journey as well. Like whatever product you're building, you have to figure out who your target customers are. So it's like even in the content, you have to figure out who your target audience are, and that's the always I would say a difficult part because sometimes you have a clear indication of who they are and you're trying to target them, but sometimes you are a bit vague about it and then you're targeting multiple groups at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, as an entrepreneur, you should know who your target audience is. You should have a real good understanding of who they are. Um, I would talk to people. I would have you should, as a founder, you should be having customer discovery calls. You should be asking them questions as is. And so, yeah, I would say that you should, if you're going to put a product in front of an audience, you should already know what that audience is and what they care about. and then figure out the product. So I don't know how to tell you to figure out who your audience is. I'll be honest with you. As I work on a product, I'm still figuring out who my audience is. And I'm getting different signals from different parts of the marketplace that are like, no, it could be this, no, it could be that. And so honestly, I don't know. The other thing you can do is you can say, hey, I like this segment of the market. I have worked with this segment. I know what they want. I care. I have the skills to build what they want. Also valid, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be the first step for anyone. Like, okay, first you start building the content, just keep consistent, put your content out there, and slowly and gradually start gauging. Even if you don't have to have it on pen and paper down to the bone who your audience are and everything. When you're creating content and you see who's interacting with you, use those insights, use those tools, and then start to refine your content as you go toward that
Yes.
audience. That would be very helpful, because like it's all about the improvement, as you said earlier on, that yeah, even if you're improving 1% at a day, that's a great progress.
100%. And maybe you have experience of talking to and working with a particular segment of the market, and you can say, hey, no, I have seen this problem firsthand. And so I'm going to speak to this audience and I'm going to build a product that is going to solve that problem. Great. If you know that and you've been the customer and now you're going to be the brand, that's obviously a very, very enviable position to be in. But for a lot of other entrepreneurs, they have an idea, they don't really know who might want to buy it, but they're open to learning. Spend more time. The more time you spend listening and the less time you spend talking, the better position you're going to be.
You know, one of the saying I have heard in media is that even negative publicity is good publicity. So is that really true?
Ask the CEO of CrowdStrike this week if he would agree with that logic. I would say no, it's not true. Listen, there are certain circumstances. If you're a celebrity, if you're an actor, they talk about if you're in the kind of those gossip magazines and mediums, maybe there's there. But in business, I don't subscribe to that theory. I think your reputation is really, really important, and negative publicity really threatens your reputation. And a reputation takes years to build up and a moment to destroy. And so I think trust is a very important thing for businesses. And so I would say that no, there definitely is such a thing as negative press.
I definitely agree with you on that as well, because it takes years and years to build a reputation. It's like a lot of hard work, and business is built on trust with the customer. And once you lose that, it's very difficult to get it back. It's like
Absolutely.
sometime it can never happen again. Like sometime, yeah, people might forgive you, but like getting that trust back, it's nearly going to be impossible at that point.
Yeah, I think that the average consumer or the average audience person, they probably subscribe to the law, not even intentionally, but a lot of people are willing to forgive, but they're not willing to forget. And if you're associated with a negative thing, like again, look at the CrowdStrike and CrowdStrike, excuse me, and what happened, in the last few weeks. Their reputation is, and by the way, most people had never heard of them before 2 weeks ago, and now, I don't know what their stock is doing right now, but I don't think it's very good. They're being sued by all their customers, or not all, but some of their customers. I just saw an interview with the CEO of Delta announcing that he's going to sue CrowdStrike. So, there's a lot of tangible negative results for having a bad reputation dealing with a crisis. So, yeah, it's best to be avoided.
Okay, so since we are already on the topic of things to avoid and pitfalls, like what kind of things a founder, a CEO should avoid doing in media?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Number one, don't be afraid of the media. Use them to your advantage. The media are a tool to get in front of the audiences that you care about the most. Don't be afraid. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to engage with the press, but not engaging at all is a mistake. So that's the first thing. The second thing is thinking about the story that media want to hear and audiences want to hear, and positioning what you're saying in the context of a story, right? There are stories that we all want to hear, care about, resonate with audiences. Thinking about the way that you communicate through a story, I think that is a really, really powerful thing that the best, most trained media people do. Is when they go on TV and they're giving an interview, whether you're a founder or a CEO or an executive of a company or maybe a creator, whatever, you think about, okay, what kind of story do I want to tell the audience right now? I think that's really important. Thinking about different stakeholders and different audiences and trying to speak to all of them at the same time or at different times, I think that's really important. So we always think about our customer as the primary audience person, and that's great. But we all have a lot of different stakeholders. We have customers, but we have employees, we have investors, we have shareholders, we have government regulators, we have partner organizations, we have boards. There's all sorts of different stakeholders. What are you saying that is able to resonate with a few of them at the same time? Maybe it's one group, but making sure that you're not ignoring any one group of stakeholders. I think that is a huge pitfall. Don't ignore any group of stakeholders. And then the other pitfall that I just see a lot is people who don't make content. Going back to the previous part of the conversation, is they don't see the value of owning their own audience. They say, oh, I'll just spend ads to acquire them. That's great, but ads have diminishing returns. And so that's not the most effective way to do it.
I see what you mean. So on the topic of pitfalls, on the media side, I understand it, but let's talk about on the social media side where you are the one creating content, right? So what kind of thing you should avoid? Like with the media, there's certain amount of control you have, but then there's also like an external factor that you might not have control on. But on the social media, when you are using it, when you are the one saying anything and everything you want, then you have total control on things and what kind of thing you should be avoiding.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be on social media, again, it depends on the platform you're on, right? The advice that I'm going to give you right now is probably for TikTok and Instagram, and it's probably not appropriate for LinkedIn, although maybe a little bit. Number one, don't take yourself too seriously. Be able to laugh at yourself. These platforms are meant to be fun. They're meant to start a conversation. They're meant to, be lighthearted, and they're designed to target all sorts of age ranges and all sorts of demographics. And when you start to take yourself very, very seriously, I just think that doesn't bode well for your social media presence. So that's the first thing. The second thing is optimize for engagement. Figure out the kind of content that is going to drive engagement, and that's what you want to be doing. So all the other stuff that you want to accomplish with your social media presence, it's great, it's valuable, there's a time and a place for it. But the thing that the platforms really, really want to see is engagement. They want people commenting with you. They want people sharing it. They especially want people sharing it with one another. So you really want to optimize for engagement. And number three, I would say give 95% of the time and ask for something in return 5% of the time. So a lot of the mistake that I see founders make is they get on social media and they sell, buy this, buy this, buy this. People don't want to see that. That's not really the kind of content that resonates with audiences. You need to give something of value 95, 99, whatever percent of the time, and 5% of the time you ask for something in return. And so an example of giving something is you want to educate, you want to entertain, you want to satisfy curiosity, you want to make somebody laugh, whatever. But give value, and 5% of the time ask for something in return.
Yeah, on the social media, when someone is actually browsing their social media and going through reels, they are not there to buy your things per se. They are not doing it so that they can buy things that you are selling. They are doing it because they want to get something out of it. They are looking for the value for them, either it be entertainment, a good laugh, a recommendation for a movie that they might be interested in, something that they would find value in. So you have to basically give them the value that they are there for. And then when you have built that kind of rapport with them and they feel comfortable with you, they trust you, and then you can sell them. Of course, you can tell them about your product, not like, hey, go buy this product, but just tell them about your product and how it can help them. It's still like, it doesn't matter. It's in the entrepreneurship as well. You're running a business. You don't tell people like, hey, buy this, buy this. You tell them like, hey, this product is going to help you achieve this, this, and that. And that's what makes people buy, because then they find value in it.
100%. You are there to build community, to build audience, to entertain, to raise awareness of who you are and what you do. You are not there necessarily to convert. Now, again, I think 5% of the time you can ask for a conversion or buy this or sign up, fill my lead form out or whatever. But you are there primarily to do all the other things.
Yeah, for sure. So basically what we are saying is that give value to the community without asking something in return. And I would say not expect that much of return itself when you are starting out. Just give and give and give, see how people react to it, see how the community is reacting, and if the people are engaging with your content, then you actually know that you have something to give to the
Yes.
community, and then you'll be able to basically in future reap that reward as well.
Yeah, your community engagement is the first signal that you are onto something, right? You're going to put stuff out there and you don't know if it's going to do well. You don't know if it's going to entertain. You don't know if your content is going to be interesting. You don't know if the thing that you're talking about is interesting to people. Even if it's the best, most highly produced video in the world and you spend millions of dollars on it, you actually don't know if people are going to care, right? And so the first thing is you put that out, you put that content out there to get a signal from the market of like, no, what you're saying, there's something here. And once you have that, then you can invest down the road.
Yeah. So on topic of creating content, how can someone actually build this storytelling? Like how can they acquire the art of storytelling? Because that's what you're doing on the social media. You're trying to tell a story and bring value to your audience, right? So what kind of things, like is there like a kind of like a solid steps someone can take to learn this kind of skill?
I don't know if there are skills that you can learn for storytelling, or if there are, I'm probably someone who says that some of it's going to be more like innate. You're born with that skill. But there are things that you can look out for that are the markings of a really, really good story. So, for example, for me, the markings of a really good story are number one, a hero's journey, right? We all want to see how the hero goes on his journey, comes up, fights the dragon, kills it, wins the princess over, right? Like that kind of classic hero's journey. We love that. Overcoming obstacles, we love that. Number two, people are interested in conflict. There's a reason why sports is so popular in our culture right now. It's because we have team A against team B, and there's a conflict, and there can only be one winner, and everybody else is a loser, right? So we like that. Conservatives versus liberals, Republicans versus Democrats. We like conflict. Or let me rephrase. Our minds are drawn to stories about conflict. Innovation is a really important story to tell. How are you changing people's lives? The reason why everybody is the most watched press conference in the world every year is Apple's announcement of the new iPhone, right? It's going to come up here in September. Why does everybody care about that? It's because they're innovating in a way that is going to affect everybody's lives. People are fascinated by that. And then educating somebody. What can you teach me that I didn't know before that matters to my day-to-day life and is going to help me either do my job better or be more healthy or take care of my kids in a more effective way, whatever. Education and teaching the audience something is another really, really powerful storytelling technique. So I would say that if you can lean into one of those, and hopefully there's more than one, but if you can lean into one of those, you're off to a really good start on storytelling.
Yeah. So help someone achieve their goal.
Yeah, to some degree, absolutely. And show, don't tell. People want to see evidence. People want to see examples. People want to see like, how did you help so and so achieve their goal?
I think that one actually sells very well, because that's testimonial from strangers and individuals who have already interacted with you as a person, with your business, and they have achieved the results that other people are also looking for. That's a huge positive impact for you, and that attracts a lot more people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you can show somebody the results of your business or working with you or the transformation that you're able to make happen, that's massive.
So what kind of trends we are seeing in social media and media itself? Like how should someone who is just getting into it or who is already into this game of content creation watch out for? What kind of thing they should be looking out for?
I mean, again, I think it's going to vary platform to platform, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think on TikTok, authenticity is everything. People want to see authentic content. But Instagram's a little bit more polished than that. Not quite, not as polished as it used to be, but it's still more polished, I would say, than Instagram, than TikTok, excuse me. On LinkedIn, it's all about engagement and education. What can you teach me? A lot of the stuff that's floating around LinkedIn, I find, and I would say that I'm partially guilty of this. A lot of it is regurgitating stuff that a lot of people already know, right? So can you teach me something that I really didn't already know? I think that has the real potential to do really well. Um, Twitter, it's so hard to say on Twitter because that platform is changing so much so fast. Ever since Elon Musk bought it and all the evolutions that is happening,
Mhm.
that is having. So it's hard for me to say. I think, and Threads is just really new, and so we'll see. I think people want to start a dialogue. Um, but ultimately, authenticity matters, engagement matters, entertainment matters, and education matters across all platforms.
All right. Yeah, I think that's important. And but one of the things that people talk about is the social media platform is the algorithm for that. So it changes rapidly, like it changes very frequently. Then we know about it. Like for example, what happened with the BuzzFeed and Facebook when Facebook changed the
Mhm.
algorithm. BuzzFeed was doing so well, and then they lost a huge amount of audience right away.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean the algorithms are always changing, and you're just gonna have to like accept that. Um, that's part of the reason why it's very, very valuable to have your own audience, right? On a platform like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you don't own the audience. The platform owns the audience. You're just borrowing a moment of their time, and that's great for discovery. But if you want to own the relationship with the audience, you need to own the relationship with the audience. So that would be like a newsletter or a podcast where you can communicate directly to your audience. So yeah, I mean, once a business gets to a certain size, I think that having a podcast or a newsletter or some sort of mechanism for you to really own the relationship with the audience, that matters. But yeah, the reality is the algorithms are changing all the time. Every probably probably just today, the algorithms have been tweaked 50,000 different ways, and we just kind of have to accept that that's the world we live in.
yeah, I totally agree. You know, I've heard a lot of good things about the newsletter because with the newsletter, many people would think like, oh, it's such an old method of marketing, it's such an old method of reaching the audience, but like newsletter is very powerful. If someone is actually subscribing to a newsletter and then opening your newsletter, you have their attention.
Mhm.
They really want to interact with your business. No one would give out their email address and just like that, and no one would open your email basically if they didn't find any value in
Mhm.
it, right?
Mhm.
So it's like newsletter itself, I feel like it's very, very important to establish. Even I'm considering to build a newsletter for my podcast and like putting all the teachings that I learn and then into a newsletter for the audience.
Yeah, I think newsletters are great. They're hard to do well. I think there's a lot of garbage newsletters out there, but there are some really good ones. And so, yeah, if you can if you have the bandwidth and the energy and the time to make it good, I think it can be a really, really valuable resource to your audience and a great way for you to own the relationship with that audience.
Yeah, totally. uh, so before we actually finish our podcast session, I wanted to ask you, do you have any final advice for people getting into content creation, for people interacting with media, for founders and first time founders who are just starting off building their own personal brand and their company brand?
Um, yeah, number one, create content. Just do it. I know it's not comfortable, especially if you're a lot of technical founders, they're not comfortable being out there. Get over it. It's part of what makes for if you are not marketing your company as a founder, you're only doing half your job. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, the way to market your company today is through content. So I would say number one, do that. If you're talking to the media, go in with a plan have a really good idea of what you want to say, how you want to say it. Talk to a professional. I'm always happy to talk to anybody. Um, if you're thinking about how to build up your brand, um, spend some time thinking about what you want to be known for. Pick one or two words or one or two ideas and really own that. And once you own that, you're going to build an audience. And once you build an audience, you can sell that audience anything. So um, it all starts for me, whether it's a PR exercise or a marketing exercise. For me, everything starts with creating content and building it in a really, really good way and making it 1% better each day. But ultimately, the best thing you can do is get started and just stay consistent.
All right, thank you so much, Eddie. That's really good advice. Just to start building content and start improving on it. Like, you should not feel scared of it. You should not feel like this is something you can't do because you don't like being on camera. If you don't like being on camera, go on Twitter. If you can do newsletter, you can do blog, but like, it's about creating audience, it's about creating content. It's not just about making reels or TikTok videos. It's more about creating content and building audiences.
Absolutely. In 2024, the creator economy is here to stay. It is the best way for you to get distribution for your business. Don't ever forget that, for every dollar you spend on performance marketing, the return on that is limited. Over time, the return on investment becomes diminishing and diminishing and diminishing. But if you can build true audience of people who are interested in what you have to say, the return on investment on that is exponential. And so, I really, really think that every founder, every business person should be out there creating content, and everyone that's not just gives opportunity for the ones that are. So myself included. So my advice to everybody, any founder who wants to build their business, is think about marketing at the beginning stages. It doesn't have to be a huge investment, but think about it, how you're going to market your company. And my advice is, chances are you want to start marketing with content creation, audience development, and over time start leaning into public relations and media and communicating with the press, because they're a huge, we didn't spend a ton of time talking about it, but the media is a huge opportunity for you to get in front of new audiences, new eyeballs, and really, if done effectively, communicate your message in a really, really powerful way.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much, Eddie, for your time and sharing all the expert advice. And guys, if anyone want to get in contact with Eddie to learn more about how to build brands, personal brand, and how to actually engage with the media, I will drop the link to his website and to his email in the description for you to get it and talk with Eddie. And I'll also be posting that on LinkedIn with his contact information. Thank you so much, Eddie, for sharing everything today.
Thank you very much for having me.